Hi, I'm Jayce Lewis and welcome to my personal studio, Northstone Studios in South Wales, Bridgend. Okay, so this is Door Martis, a track I wrote about a year ago. Sometimes when I'm writing a song, it either starts off by being written on a guitar, or I get a drum groove in my head. This particular one was a riff I had going around in my head for quite a while, so I knew immediately what to do with it. So the process is that I get a click track up and going on Cubase and I start getting the riff laid down, and then it starts building slowly bit by bit. When I record guitars, usually I go for a big wall of sound on the guitars, so I've got 8 tracks of guitars usually. So that's, when I record, it's 2 aside, which are mic'd up with a SM57 and a 421 Sennheiser. So I've got one guitar stem up now that I've recorded in, and I'm going to show you how I sweep for the frequency and get the best out of that sound. So this is the guitar dry, so we've recorded it in, and this is what it sounds like. One of the first things I do with a guitar is I root out all the hideous noise frequencies that we've got in there, because there's some really spiky frequencies. When I'm micing up the amp and I got the Laney, because anything with gain, it does seem to really drive some of these really spiky sounds. So the first thing I do is I get my graphic EQ and I try and rod out these horrible frequencies. So we'll sweep now for some real horrible frequencies that we want to get out. That's 1. And that's 2. So that's got rid of my horrible whistles at the top end of that, notorious with anything that's distorted. And now what I'm going to do is the same process, but actually looking now for the bottom end, so getting rid of the boxy sound, which is usually around the sort of 200 hertz mark, but we're going to go and find those now. I should have this on a loop really, but hey, let's do the hard way. And there you have it. So that now cleans up our signal, and we've got a really nice sound now. It's gotten rid of a lot of the horrible nastiness within that sound. And the next thing I do is sweep for frequency, and for that we use the wonderful S03E18 channel strip. So this is an incredible plugin, and we're just going to sweep for the frequency and get the best of the guitar sound that we have. So we've got my SSL channel strip, and basically we always start from the top end down. So I'm going to try and rod out the best top end frequencies of the guitar, almost wanting it to shine a little bit hi-fi wise. So we start with a high frequency. I usually put the gain right up and I start sweeping on the right. Here we go. So you would have noticed there that I had the gain all the way up for me to be able to hear the frequency. As soon as I get the right sound, I then chill the gain right back, the boost. I usually get that around between 3 and 6 dB. Then we get on to the high mids. Depending on the sound that you want, there is no right and wrong on how to do this. A lot of metal guitars, you want that really spiky sounding, poignant, real high point on the guitars that are really sort of shining through. For this, I've kind of got that more tonal sound because it's a lot more rhythm based. So we kind of go in for that Deftones warmth and width. And so I usually chill out a lot. So it's a real note that I'm looking for rather than the strength of the sound. And there you have it. So we've started right from the top, high frequency, high mids, if you want to even go there. And then I've just sweeped now for the bottom end just to give it some warmth. And what we do then is we copy that across to every other track of the guitar. So obviously I've got 8, so it'll be Alt and Select and drag it over onto the mixer. So we've got the mixer here up now, and essentially what I do is I select the plugin, Alt, and then drag it over and keep dragging it over each and every strip that I have, and that basically has our EQs and our frequency rod outs of horrible frequencies that we've got as well. It drags it right over to every track of guitar, and then every guitar track then sounds massive. So hearing them together like that now, another personal thing that I do, they sound a little muggy. So what I do now is I get the graphic EQ back up again, and I actually now try and just put my final bit of polish, which is to visually find the note with a graphic EQ. The SSL plugin, because you've got all these knobs and things, for me, sound-wise, it's incredible, but I'm just going to lift the Q on a graphic and actually find a real bit of shine now, and then I'll put that over across to every guitar, so it's the same process. Same process again, Alt, select, and drag it over onto each strip again, and we'll see what that sounds like. And there you have it. That's a fast, quick way of a fast and quick way to sweep for frequency, get rid of those horrible whistles and pops and boxiness, and strap it right across. Panning on guitars is another process. So I've got 2 guitars aside when I'm recording. That's hard left and hard right each and every time. So the next process now is I've got the guitars recorded in, and now I'm going to sort of find a drum pattern groove. For this process right now, because this is developing the track, I always program just a very simple kick and snare sort of method and put it in. I always record my drums for real. You can't really mimic that really with programming. So I've got a little library of kicks that I've recorded of my own, and I'll put those in and see what kick patterns work best with these guitars, and then the snare, and we'll build up from there. Over the years, I've recorded many different sort of kick drum sounds and snares and hi-hat and cymbals from previous albums I've done. So I hold on to those kick samples and snare samples, etc., just so I can start building up. So I've got my library folder open, and what I do is I click on the folder sample and I drag it in, and there it is. So I've already created a track here, so I'll name this kick. And that sounds like this. Basically, what I now do is loop the guitars and just build up my kick drum. That's where I always start. That's the heartbeat of a song. So start getting it up. So I've just come up with a basic groove, plotted each and every individual kick drum in a pattern to go with the guitar, and this is what we've got. It's easy as that. At this stage, just to get the realistic sound on the kick, I also go into the velocity of the impact of each hit. So each sample that I've put in, I'll basically gain each sample down, so because a drummer's just not going to pound it as hard as that unless they're on steroids. But you know, we're going to gain each and every sample down just to give it a more realistic sort of feel for when it gets into double pedal. So we literally just grab the top of the gain. So I've brought that one down a quarter, bring that one down a little more. You can visually see that they are, just gives it a more realistic feel. And do the same with that one. That file. And as you have it, there we go. That kind of gives it a bit of a groove, bit of a more realistic feeling to the track. And helps really the song being constructed realistically, as later on we're going to be recording real drums, and that will be put on this at a later stage. So I've done the whole drum groove now. We've got snare, kick, hats and cymbals, created a bit of a groove going on with that. So we've got our guitars and drums. The next thing I do then is record the bass in. And the bass for me, when I'm recording bass, the root notes of the bass follow mostly the guitar, but the rhythm goes with the drums. So it comes up with this real weird kind of in and out of time with the guitar, panning back and forth with the drums and guitar. So I've just recorded my bass in. When I'm doing a mix with any organic instruments, the bass and the kick really is the first thing that you sort of go into mixing, you know, which obviously happens at a later stage. But it's quite important to get the bass just sitting really nicely with the kick drum, because essentially it's sort of accentuating and amplifying the beat, the groove, but with a tone. So I've got the bass just sitting on top of the kick drum, and together they sound great. And then you start bringing in the guitars. And then all the guitars. And then with everything in, so that's the whole drum kit, guitars and the bass, we've got this. So once I've done all of the guitars, drums and bass, I then start to explore the synth elements. So in Cubase, MIDI input, different notes, experimenting, you know, bouncing them off the guitar tones, seeing what they're like with the beats. So I MIDI input those and then I bounce them down, and then I go into the EQ process, the same EQ process as I've done with guitars. And they sound like this. Just like the guitar process, I want to rod out my frequencies that I don't really want there, that are taking up a lot of space. So I get my graphic EQ back up again, which is the studio EQ in Cubase. And same process as guitars. Get in there, find our notes that are horrible. This is a fairly low and mid sort of sounding synth, so there's going to be nothing up the top end range. So yeah, we're just going to rod out the bottom end, get rid of that boxiness. That'll do for that. So we've just got rid of the horrible frequencies. I get my trusted old friend here, the S03E18 channel strip. Switch the bell on, get the boost right up and start sweeping for frequency. Now that I've EQ'd the synth as best as I can get it, I'll now create a group channel and send that to my Soundtoys Echo Boy plugin and get some delays and some nice reverbs going with it, just to really get it to sit in the mix. I named my group channel synth delay, synth verb, and I'm now going to send the synth to this group. I select in there, switching it on. So as you can see, my synth is now routed straight into my group, and there's no plugin in there yet. So in my group channel here now, I've got my Soundtoys bundle. They build some of the most incredible plugins, and especially Echo Boy. So I select that, and that comes up. And for this, I think I'll probably go for my warm crispy tape. What I always do is I put the mix right up, get the low cut up as well, because you want that glassy back end of a reverb or delay, so it frees up its own bit of space. And yeah, and then we just go through what sort of rhythms we want, notes, triplets, dotted. And the beauty about this is because it's been sent, inserted or sent into the group channel, you can control the volume of how much delay, how much of this effect you want. So this is it dry. And then when I increase the volume on my group, it creeps in the effect. And there we go. Usually before I put any delay on any sort of plate effects like that, I would usually be bringing in Decapitator first. So I've just moved the Echo Boy down to its own slot. I'm going to go back into my Soundtoys bundle and get up Decapitator. What I'll now do is turn off Echo Boy, because I don't want that giving us any trip overs with delay, and try and pull out a bit more of this this sort of sound with the synth by using Decapitator. This Decapitator, you can really drive this thing. I mean, there's even a punish button, which I love. Punish. So yeah, so get the drive up a bit. Get the drive up, get it distorted a little bit so it always sits lovely. Go through my style selection, give it a bit more tone. So we've got that now, and what I'll do now is bring in Echo Boy and see what it sounds like together. Spooky. Okay, so guitars, drums, bass, synths. And then the next thing I do is work on vocals. For the development of this track, just come up with, I always go for the top line first, which is the chorus, and get some harmonies going just to start the creative process flowing. And so this is what I've recorded. Sounds Beach Boys, but when you've got slamming drums and guitars, it's king. When I'm doing vocals, I'm double tracking, always double tracking, just to just to thicken up the voice. I've got my vocals going through my Rupert Neve Design Shelford series 5052s. Outboard gear, you can't cheat that sort of stuff. So for genuine thickness and real tone qualities, you really can't beat that stuff. And you've got the usual trusted SSL plugins again, sweeping for frequencies, just like what we've done on guitars. So I've got my double track vocal. This is just a background harmony. Again, at this stage, we're just developing the textures and the tones of the song. I've created another group channel, auxiliary group channel, and I've now sent those vocals through into a group channel which is called Vox Verb, and I'm using the trusty old Echo Boy again from Sound Toys. So this is the vocal without any process. And I'm now going to creep in my Echo Boy into the chain using the group. So the vocals are in, EQ'd, sweeped, panned, and this is basically what we've got so far with everything in. So this is just a work in progress. Things are going to be built up, and we'll be getting the real drums in and really getting in there with a fine tooth comb and really going right through it and layering stuff as we go along. Okay, that's all we got time for. I hope you join me on the second video.